Hi everyone, so today we're taking a look at WildStar, the new MMO coming out from NCSoft and Carbine. Now, as with all MMOs, it's really difficult to give a full review just so soon after launch, but having got to level 26 and explored quite a wide range of the content so far, I think I'm ready to kind of give you some of my thoughts about WildStar. For starters, this is by far one of the best value for money MMOs I think I've ever seen, certainly just based on buying the box copy and getting 30 days in the box. It's a phenomenal achievement how much content this game has. You've got the full PvE, player versus environment, that'll take you from level 1 all the way up to level 50. You also have PvP battlegrounds, those will take you all the way from levels 1 to level 50. You also have adventures, which are kind of like dungeons, but slightly different. They kind of offer different game modes, I suppose you could say. You've then got dungeon content, which is what we've kind of come to expect from MMOs, but cranked up to 11 and much more difficult than anything you'll ever see in World of Warcraft. Add to that a multitude of different ways that you can get bonuses to your XP in these various different modes, and you've got a game which, whilst it doesn't try and slow you down, at the same time is putting just enough in your way that you can't just blitz right through the content, at least not without sitting there and just power leveling with your friends anyway, which in my opinion kind of takes away from what an MMO is all about. WildStar sets the bar extraordinarily high, and in many respects that's because it's got World of Warcraft that it needs to try and follow. This kind of dictates that when they launched this game they didn't want the usual complaints of there's no level 50 content, there's no end game here. And so from what I can see and having spoken to friends that have reached level 50, there is a complete, well, plethora really of level 50 content there, from veteran dungeons to war plots to PvP. They've really thrown everything in the kitchen sink at it. Now, WildStar is certainly one of the most beautiful looking MMOs we've ever seen. Certainly compared to something like Elder Scrolls Online, this game is a breath of fresh air, taking a lot of cues really from World of Warcraft for this kind of cartoony cel shading style. But it's really nicely done here. It doesn't at any time feel too much like World of Warcraft. It feels like its own thing, but with just enough visual cues to make you feel at home. One thing that really has to be mentioned with WildStar is the combat mechanics, because, well, they're like nothing you'll have ever played before. Utilising a system of telegraphs, powers aren't so much a case of tabbing to lock onto an enemy, hitting buttons repeatedly and hoping for the best, that effectively you'll out-damage your opponent before they can kill you. In WildStar, everything's really about skill shots. You have templates for each of your powers. Those templates can be either arcs, long straight lines, or giant square templates, or even circles, and you will have to time them perfectly if you're going to hit your opponent. No more so is this in full effect than within PvP, which is quite frankly a complete maelstrom of insanity, but somehow strategically it works beautifully. It's crazy, but not so crazy you can't keep a bead on what's going on. Because of the telegraph system, you're always having to avoid enemy telegraphs that could hit you as well. Those get telegraphed to you, funnily enough, so you can see them, and if you time it just right, double jump out of the way. Or double roll, as the case may be. So what this really creates is an MMO unlike anything we've kind of had before. Part action combat game, part massive multiplayer online game, and fused together in a way which actually works. This isn't like Elder Scrolls Online, where you're kind of taking a multiplayer MMO and attempting to fuse single player characteristics with it. This is a game that was being developed for massive multiplayer, but taking cues from how can we make MMOs more interactive and engaging, and ultimately more challenging as well. This telegraph system really plays into how dungeons and boss fights work, making dungeons something which are not just a case of storming your way through with your best gear. You will have to spend time learning the dungeons, learning the bosses and their particular tactics, and more importantly, just skilling up your own ability to dodge and to move around these various templates as they happen. All of the time, as you may find if you're playing a tank, things can get really tough up close and personal with a boss if you only have a fraction of a second to do your double roll out of the way of damage. But when you crack it, you feel like an absolute hero, not only because your gear and your powers are awesome, but because you yourself are awesome. And that's something we've never had in an MMO before, that kind of first-person shooter almost kind of ideal of I am brilliant because my skill is allowing me to be brilliant. When we kind of consider where WildStar is potentially going over the next 18 months, I think the future is very bright for WildStar. They've got a great initial package of content. If they can build on that with additional level 50 content, as well as obviously improving the level 1 to 50 content as well through the PvE, new dungeons, new adventures and so on, things are going to be really good for this game. At a box copy costing around £25 to £30 depending on where you buy it from, and a subscription at £8.99 a month, this game offers excellent value for money, as well as also offering a slight alternative on the funding option as well for your subscriptions. If you want, you can buy cred, an in-game currency that can effectively be swapped for your game time. Now at the moment that will run you to around about 350 to 400 gold. Now that might sound like quite a lot of in-game gold, but actually it's fairly achievable from what I can tell once you hit the high 40s, high level 50s. This will change over time as obviously more players start buying cred and so on, but you can also, if you want, exchange real money on WildStar's website to buy cred you can then sell for gold in-game. Now this really kind of kicks the legs out from under the gold sellers, and whilst unfortunately we have still been suffering with gold selling spam in WildStar, it's been nowhere near as bad as in ESO. Overall, what the guys at Carbine are doing here really does feel like the very best ideas from MMO, cranked up to 11, brought into a modern era, perfected and then layered with, well, a new combat system that really does work. You've never seen an MMO this dynamic, really. If you haven't checked out WildStar yet, do give it a try. It's well worth a look, and you can pick up 7-day trial codes off other WildStar players so you can give the game a bit of a try before you buy. So do let me know in the comments what you think of WildStar, and do please throw a like on this video.